Halloween.
Forever.
Good evening, Stephen. How you doing?
Doing good, Brian. How you doing?
You know, I've been digging holes all weekend, and I would love for it to stay at that. Don't ask any questions about those mysterious holes. No, I've been digging holes to rerun some pipe, fix some leaks in some underground pipes, and just really fun stuff. But I got a good one here for you. Maybe cheer us both up. Who knows? We at least get the energy up going into this here showdown. Stephen, what do monkeys and chainsaws have in common?
What do monkeys and chainsaws have in common? I don't know. You shouldn't juggle either of them. They both have sharp teeth. They'll both mangle your face and genitals. I don't know. They do have a lot in common, actually.
We actually have more in common. Yeah, mangle your face and genitals. That's not untrue. I like that punchline. No, what I was going to say is they both fuck up trees.
Hey,
welcome, boys and ghouls, to a high energy showdown episode on this SummerSlam Sunday. My name is Brian.
I'm Steve.
Hey, hold on a second. Speaking of SummerSlam, I see somebody over there who might be side-eyeing a little pay-per-view action on the old podcast. Wait, is that Anthony from, they call this a movie podcast? Hey, Anthony, how you doing?
Hey, guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, especially on this unofficial holiday weekend, which, like I said, I've been working on underground plumbing for the last couple of days, which might be a euphemism. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
I was going to say, not everyone can say that they've been laying pipe all weekend.
Listen, I was born to do two things. That's lay pipe and lay pipe. You know? Anyway, it completely slipped my mind. This is SummerSlam weekend. Not that I've purchased many pay-per-views in the recent past here, but guys, you're probably more up to speed on it. I have not watched much WWF. I almost said WCW because that's literally the only wrestling I watch is old matches of WCW on YouTube nowadays. What's the big storylines? What's the main event? What are you guys looking forward to for SummerSlam?
I feel like I remember in an old episode you mentioned you're not a huge fan of one Mr. Seth freaking Rollins.
I've never been a Seth Rollins guy. I don't hate him, but I'm not a big Seth Rollins guy.
So he's been the big story this SummerSlam.
Okay.
He won Money in the Bank. I don't know if you know what Money in the Bank is.
I know what Money in the Bank is. Yeah.
So, and then a couple weeks ago, he had a knee injury.
Sure.
Quote unquote. But that was all the work. So he wound up doing this very quickly. But he after CM Punk won the championship, World Heavyweight Championship, he came in and cashed in and showed that he didn't need the crutches.
He threw the crutches down. Yeah. Now here's a question, because when I think knee injuries, we recently had a conversation about the time Mick Foley had a knee injury, and he had to go get surgery or whatever, and they did a little work on him with Triple H with the sledgehammer, made it seem like he did some sort of permanent injury to him. Was Triple H involved with this knee injury?
No.
No. All right.
No.
Fine. Yeah. I just
Only
every
from
time I hear
creative standpoint, but
yeah,
unfortunately less than his involvement with the current administration.
Yeah.
He's a little more hands off with his knee injury.
We like to make fun of how stupid it was when Triple H did it. He made the sledgehammer look good one time, and then they kept it around for like 2 years, and it always looked like shit because he would literally put his hand over the end of it, like when he would swing it underhand and palm it. It looked terrible. Anyway, well, are you sipping on some beers over here? What else going on?
I got beers, but if somebody wants to go first.
I'll just get mine out of the way. I have what's left of a Coors Light Tall Boy because I've been drinking that all weekend, smoking meats and drinking beer starting at 11:30 yesterday.
Mhm.
So taking it light with just light beer today.
Yeah. Getting after a couple 2-tree curves while you smoke. That makes sense. Steve, what do you got? What do you got going on?
I got two, and they're kind of two the same, but I was, you know how I do with hunting at the mix of six.
Yeah.
And
love a mix of six.
Whatever reason, I guess Cinderlands has put out a variety pack of their little cinder.
Mm-hmm.
And so the mix of six had all 4 flavors, and I guess like one's little cinder lime, one's little cinder mango. They have regular little cinder, and then they have little cinder watermelon.
Okay.
And so I picked up the watermelon and a lime, and boy, is that lime really good. But I think the watermelon's even better. It's
interesting.
It's incredibly crushable. It has a little bit of that cucumbery rind flavor to it.
See, that's what I was just about to say. I like watermelon flavored things, even if they're gross candy flavored things, but not in a beer. When I do my watermelon beers, I like for them to have a little bit of that green kind of watermelon rind type of thing. I think, remember Hell or High Watermelon from 21A, 21st Amendment, and the Watermelon Goza from Anderson Valley. I feel like they both kind of had a little bit of that.
Yeah, I remember the Hell or High Watermelon being a little more fresher than this, because this one still has like pretty heavy lager notes to it. Whereas like Hell or High Watermelon just tasted like all watermelon and water. But this has like, lager notes to it, and then a little bit of that cucumbery rind flavor, and then a little bit of that sweet watermelon to it. But it's really good, and I could see me just going town on this for the rest of the summer.
Nice. I'm drinking a new beer and an old beer. New to me and familiar to me. First of all, saw this, was kind of excited. Good old St. Bernardus, known for your big, Trappist style ales, Belgian Trappist style ales, is doing they did a collaboration with Weihenstephan, which is another one of my favorite German breweries, and they did an unfiltered Helles collaboration with Weihenstephan.
I think I saw that out in the store, but I didn't pick it up.
Yeah, it's called Combine, and it is delicious and characterful and fresh and tremendous. Little bit hazy, as you can tell, but doesn't really drink. Like it's a little bit more fermentation character, as you might imagine, for a lager beer, as opposed to hazy from like excessive hopping. It's really soft Pilsner malt character, and then a little bit of elevated fruity, doughy, bread crusty types of things in there. And it's freaking tasty. And then I have on deck I grabbed a 15 pack of the old Prima Pils, which you can't go wrong with.
There you go.
Especially when you can find it fresh. So that's what I'm going to be sipping on here tonight. I got after some beers on Friday night. Had a couple of friends over. Joe Bob, Last Drive-In was on. They're doing it monthly now. First Monday of our first Friday of the month. And they had Jaws ripoffs for Shark Week. Yeah, and nice. They did Piranha, always a classic. And then they did a movie I'd never seen called Crocodile, which was, I think, an Indonesian movie that had its moments, but was not. It definitely had some boring parts too, but it was fun.
Is that the one where somebody's trapped in a drained pool with a crocodile?
No. This is from
it's a different movie then.
No, this was I think this was like late 70s.
Oh, okay.
Indonesian film, lots of miniatures, and one of my favorite tropes in giant killer animal movies or kaiju movies. Anytime there's a big bad thing that you're scared of, one of my favorite tropes. It's not a trope so much as maybe a gaffe. I love when the size of the creature varies dramatically from scene to scene. Sure. And this movie might be the ultimate culprit of that.
Yeah.
There are moments when the giant killer crocodile looks to be the size of like, let's say a large, let's say 2 cows, like the size of like 2 large cows. And then there's this times where it's the size of a 2-story building. Like it's very so dramatically. There's one part where it's like there are literal cows walking around it. You're like, okay, it's much bigger than those cows. But then there's other times where it like swooshes its tail and crushes 3 buildings, and you're like, Jesus Christ, like, that thing is dramatically varying. Rita Repulsa is up there throwing down her staff and then retracting it somehow over and over and over again. But it was fun. We drank on some beers on Friday night. We're up quite late, and then, like I said, I've been digging holes, been playing in the dirt for the last 2 days. So your boy is fucking tired, and I'm gonna sleep well tonight. So I'm gonna drink on somebody's beers.
Fun. So so that movie I was talking about, it's a Thai film called The Pool. From 2018. That's what I was talking about. And then
I remember seeing that. I don't know if I actually watched it, but like it was pretty prominent on the streaming services for a while.
Yeah, I haven't got to it. And then I just wanted to jump to a little bit back about beer. How's everybody feeling about that new Maple Warlock coming out from Southern Tier? It's time for Gloop Glops for the Halloween time.
You know what? I'm gonna try it, but you know what? I'm even more excited about. Did you see the Angry Orchard Halloween variety pack?
Oh yeah, we could also talk about that because there's the Angry Orchard variety pack, and they're releasing a Jason Voorhees themed short film to go along with it.
Yeah, there's a Jason Voorhees variety in the variety pack. I forget what it's called, and then there's just 3. Well, there's one that's like they're bringing back. That's like a seasonal they've had before, and then the other 3 flavors. The description does not tell you anything about what it tastes like. It's like a Halloween Yankee candle. It's called like Midnight Fog, and you're like, what the fuck does that taste like?
Yeah, I think if I had to guess, the Jason Voorhees flavored one is called Sweet Revenge because that's the name of the short film they put out. I was annoyed because this came up on like Bloody Disgusting and everything, and they're like, we're putting out a brand new piece of the Jason universe, and it's the official return of Jason Voorhees in a 13-minute sponsored film.
Oh my God.
By the director.
It's Mac and me, but but Jason instead of McDonald's, it's Angry Orchard.
It was so many words to avoid saying cider commercial. It's just like, don't say cider ad. If you call it a cider ad, we'll sue you.
Yeah. And it's crazy. It's coming on the heels of the announcement of the Jason universe thing, whatever they're calling it, which seems like compromises were made, I will say, based upon my reading of that. So much so that like it feels like they're allowed to say certain things and not other things. Like obviously Jason, all the imagery around Jason, the hockey mask and all that stuff. But it does not seem, and I could be wrong about this, but just in the initial communications I've seen, it doesn't feel like they're allowed to say Camp Crystal Lake because they didn't mention it anywhere. It's like,
I don't know if they are. You would have. I guess you really do have to watch this dumbass short to see what they are and aren't allowed to say. But they're definitely not allowed to say Friday.
Even just. They can only say Jason.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, that's the thing. Like they're using the official Jason universe branding. So whatever can appear in that ad is what you can expect for the actual subsequent films and TV shows and whatever else bullshit they put out. They definitely can't say Friday the 13th though.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. They can't see. I don't think they can say Camp Crystal Lake. It's going to take a weird turn. Not that there's been a good Jason movie that wasn't a fan film in the last, I don't know, 30 years. I'm just going to be a dick and say 30. But the most important part of Halloween is of course, the annual release or the kickoff of the Halloween season, the annual release of the monster cereals. I did get my hands on the Jim Henson. I don't know if you've seen the Jim Henson collab this year on it.
Wow.
I did get this. So this is combining 2 of my all-time favorite things, which is of course the Monster cereals, which I literally have an entire like corner of my office is just like cereal boxes and Monster cereal art, and the Muppets. And they did Muppet versions of the monsters on the box.
Mhm.
And I almost shat myself when I saw that come out. And I'm just going to straight up be a trashy nostalgia fanboy here. I freaking love the Muppets, and I freaking love the monsters from the Monster cereals. So, yeah, this one was a dream come true for me. I have heard that there is they didn't do the Carmella Creeper. It's just Count Chocula, Boo Berry, and Frankenberry. Yeah, they didn't bring back Carmella Creeper this year, which is fine. They don't do Fruit Brute every year. They don't do, Fruity Yummy Mummy every year. But I did hear that there is a Frankenberry variant of the box where there's like a texture to it or something.
Yeah, there's a fuzzy.
Yeah. And I'm going to figure out how to get my hands on that.
It's got Muppet skin
if
on
I
it.
have. Yeah, it's got real peeled off Muppet skin, and I will do horrible things to get that. So if anybody wants me to do anything horrible for them, and they got that box, you let me know. You boys on it.
Political assassinations. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking just like hand jobs, but sure, political assassinations. Don't you just say in Minecraft, and then they're like, "Oh, it's a joke. It's a joke." I'm already on a couple watch lists, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I gotta watch my ass here. Yeah. So I mean, personally, my kickoff to Halloween season is going pretty damn good because I already got my hands on my cereals.
Yeah, I saw the commercial using the actual Muppets of the cereal characters.
Mm-hmm.
And one, it kind of made me upset that they didn't do Fruit Brute because they didn't just have like an animal type character.
Yeah.
To just like, run around, scream and yell Fruit Brute or whatever. And also, not that it's bad, but I was kind of surprised that Frankenberry is really Queenie.
Yeah. Well, he kind of always has been.
I didn't know that
so
about
like,
Frankenberry.
Yeah, even going back to like the commercials from the late 70s, early 80s, he always was a little bit in that because they were doing that, like he was kind of doing a Boris Karloff a little bit, but it always came out a little bit more lispy, a little bit more kind of slightly effeminate.
Yeah.
And then obviously Count Chocula was just straight up Bela Lugosi. They were just trying to do the Bela Lugosi thing. And then Boo Berry, I love because Boo Berry was actually oh gosh, what's the actor's name? Peter Lorre, which was so weird to have the ghost be Peter Lorre. And then if you remember the voice of Fruit Brute almost was a little Scooby-Doo-ish.
See, I don't remember a Fruit Brute commercial ever.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, even it was deeper than that, but like the way he would do the little like howl thing, it just, I don't know, it always reminded me of Scooby-Doo a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. R.I.P. Carmella Creeper. I'm sure she'll be back at some point, but
yeah, maybe next year that's what you get. You get a Carmella and Fruit Brute and a Yummy Mummy.
And a Yummy Mummy. I like a Yummy Mummy. Fruit Brute, big fan. I love a werewolf, but that is decidedly the worst cereal. The Fruit Brute is, it's tough. It's tough. They had family size versions of it a few years ago, and I bought a couple boxes of it, just primarily for the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And it sat in the old cupboard for quite a while. Quite a while.
Yeah. Mine sat for a while too. I was like, oh yay, I can have 3 bowls of this, and it's like, I'm tired of this.
Yeah, I'm done. All right. Well, let's get into our showdown proper, guys. So this was a little bit different. We've done this topic in the past. We've done some similar topics in the past, but it is a little bit different than what we typically do. And you might be saying to me, well, boy, howdy, what the hell is a showdown episode? Well, of course, that we put out yummy, mummy, sticky, sweet, textured sprinkled with marshmallow content on the internet every son of a bitch and Monday. But the first Monday of every month, we do what's called a showdown episode, where we take 3 topics from our big ass spinny ass wheel of topics. We got about a bajillion on them now, or on there now. We spin it. We get 3. We throw them out on the social medias for our friends and listeners to vote on. Once they pick their favorite topic, it comes back to us, where me, Steve, and our guest, or sometimes our collective Patreon community, pick movies associated with that topic. Now, this is a little different because we're not talking about whole movies. We're talking about scenes, specific little scenes, little snippets. And this particular topic was good scenes in bad movies. So we're not going to be talking about an entire movie proper. Each one of us picked a scene associated with that movie. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about the movie more broadly, but we're going to focus on one particular scene. Let's real quickly go around the horn well, this will be a surprise actually to the listeners because we didn't announce it on the show ahead of time. So, Anthony, why don't you tell the listeners at home the movie and the scene that you're going to be talking about for good scenes, bad movies. I'm always want to say it backwards.
Sure. I am going to do Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, specifically Greta's death scene.
Mm-hmm. Good old Greta. Dream Child. We have done now 2 versions of the best of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and I think that movie is one of the ones that we never did. Like, we went through everything but it, because
yes.
in your defense, it is typically considered to be one of the weakest in the franchise, amongst a franchise that's got some stinkers in there. All right, and we're going to talk about Greta's death in that fine motion picture. Stephen, what are you going to be talking about?
Yes, I've taken another film from a franchise that is very problematic and has a lot of fucking stinkers in it. And this is one of the stinky of the stinkers. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation from 1994. Widely regarded as a giant pile of shit, because it is.
Yeah. I rewatched it.
Yep.
It is. I can confirm.
Yep. Can confirm. Piece of shit. However, it does star Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey. And the scene I picked is when they meet and come together, which is very late in the film. But I picked it solely because it's one of the few scenes that captures the kind of the original insanity of the first film. And there's some acting that happens in that scene.
There's more than some acting. And I'm actually interested to learn which exact scene you're talking about. And I'll when we get into it, maybe I'll explain my confusion, but sure. I did rewatch the movie. So, you know, I feel like I'm owed something from society for rewatching the movie, because I had not seen it since college, whenever it came out on DVD, which was probably in the, late 90s. And then several years later, I remember watching it in college on DVD for the first time and going, wow, that was a piece of shit. Hope I never have to watch that again. And fast forward 20 years later, your boy had to watch it again.
Cursed.
Yeah. So I am going to talk about a film from much more recent. I'm going to talk about a movie from 2022, a little film that might be fresh in some of your minds still, a movie called Skinamarink. And I'm specifically going to talk about the final scene in Skinamarink. So
I think this is another example of you have to explain what you meant by the final scene, because that the film, for anybody who knows, is just such an experimental all over the place, and like hard to even tell what fucking scene you're actually in ever. So
sure. Yeah, fair enough. So just in to recap, we are going to talk about Greta's death from 1989's Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Child, with Anthony. Steven's going to talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, aka The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. from 1994, possibly 1995, and then I'm going to talk about and specifically when two of the main characters kind of meet, and then I'm going to talk about the final scene from 2022 Skinamarink as the reigning champion, and we all know that, of course, to the victor go the spoils. So your boy. And I got Steve for before the show. I love doing this. It's always on accident, but it always plays out really, really great because I never remember who won the last episode. But then last showdown. But then when I say it and then I remember it's me, and then I taunt him for a while about it, and he thinks I did it on purpose, which I wish I was that devious. and if it was on purpose, or if it was on purpose, it wouldn't come across that genuinely confused. So that makes it better, is because I am genuinely confused because I don't remember, and then I remember it was me, and then he goes, fuck you. So yes, your boy is the reigning champ. I have that son of a bitchin' championship strap going into to SummerSlam, if you will, our version of SummerSlam, the August showdown. So I'm gonna say, let's let Steven, how about you go first?
Okay.
Then we will then Anthony, you go, and then I'll wrap it up. How's that?
All right.
Sure.
Interesting tactic. I mean, you could.
I'm going.
Being that I know usually we give guests leeway, and let them go second or third, but like Anthony is actually the defending champ of this. Good scenes of bad movies. He's actually coming back to defend.
Anthony's a veteran on the show. He doesn't listen. He doesn't take the training wheels off. All right, he's getting treated like a regular because I think he's been on the show probably more than almost anyone except for Bigfoot Ben, perhaps at this point.
Yeah, Bigfoot Ben's got more appearances. Bigfoot Ben, because.
Maybe Louis from the Haunted Hangover podcast.
Yeah.
He's been on quite a few times, but I think you guys are right up there.
Bigfoot Ben's been on so many times. He's gained 2 extra nicknames from his appearances. So
yeah, of course, Bigfoot Ben, aka Big Top Ben, aka Big Ween Ben, of course. He might have been on more episodes than Meg at this point, I think. All right, R.I.P. R.I.P. To our fallen comrade, by the way. We've been telling everyone Meg's dead, by the way. That's the joke. It's not a going joke. All right, Anthony, why don't you kick us off here with our good scenes, bad movies?
Sure. So I picked, as I said, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. I don't have a Dream Child in here. The Dream Child from 1989, directed by Stephen Hopkins. I had to ask Steve if this was widely regarded as a bad movie because, our podcast is a bad movie podcast. So sometimes you get too far deep in the void and into the trash heap, you forget where the good stuff goes. Because I actually don't hate The Dream Child. I think there's some interesting, at least directorial choices to it. But the scene I picked is Greta's death. And Greta, for those that haven't seen it, is a friend of the main character. The main character is a carryover from Nightmare on Elm Street 4. First time they've really ever done that, except for Heather Langenkamp coming back for 3. But this is a straight up sequel to the previous movie. And Greta is her best friend. She's a rich kid and she's like an aspiring supermodel. So she already has kind of a love-hate relationship with food, let's say. Maybe, I don't remember if it was specifically said, but there's probably evidences of eating disorders with Greta. So her scene starts off with her rich bitch of a mom having a dinner party with her rich friends, creepy dudes kind of already commenting on Greta's perfect body.
Chewing with their mouth open. Other horrible things.
80s rich whites. You know them.
Eating crudités. They're not even eating rich people food. They're just eating cherry tomatoes and baby carrots. They're just eating crudité. It's weird.
Yeah.
And Jello mold seemingly.
Well, I guess maybe in the 80s and 90s that was rich people food outside of, just full on frogwa, just outside of outside of that. But they're doing the real waspy bullshit. just like we're gonna eat small little portions, and we're gonna have a lot of servings. We're gonna have a 7-course meal, and then our table is strewn with all the things that we can pick at.
Yeah, they have. I could just hear. Oh gosh, I can't remember his name, but the guy with the hair, the guy from Scrooge that comes in to take Frank's job, and he's like, "Hey, can I get the California health plate?" I always like, it's just such a like he's at a fancy like Spago type of restaurant, and I always thought it funny that they have something on the menu called the California health plate. Right. It just sounds like something like McDonald's might have tried to do in like the early 90s and call it the California health plate.
Yeah. These people, like they might know Otho from Beetlejuice, real rich people. Like in the when history finally writes the end to this chapter in history, like rich whites from the 80s are going to be the main villain in that story. So you could just kind of figure out what kind of people these are. So Greta's there, not having a great time, and she falls asleep as one does in a Freddy Krueger movie. And she wakes up, or in her dream, she's basically at that table, and it's an even scarier version of that, with all them laughing, having a great time as Freddy serves everybody dinner, especially Greta, and he starts feeding her own innards, sticking his fingers, his knives for fingers into her stomach, pulling them out and just shoving her down her throat. So there are two versions of the scene. The one that was originally the theatrical release was eventually cut for editing to maintain an R and not an X. But I believe that one eventually made it to Laserdisc version and the VHS, or the original run of the VHS. So it's not that much different. I was looking at it. It's just a couple close-ups of like the body effects that they did for her stomach, as he keeps like shoving his hand into her stomach to get the next bit of kidney or the lower intestine or whatever to feed it. And then eventually, obviously, she dies by, she kind of comes to, or she shoots straight up standing at the table, and just kind of eventually like chokes to death in her sleep. But the part I like is really the direction of this. It's very 80s creepy, like 80s, early 90s creepy. It kind of reminds me of the Tom Petty "Don't Come Around Here No More" music video.
a lot of fisheye lenses used.
Fisheye lenses, close-ups of like teeth, like people laughing, and echoey laughter. And that there's always a PETA commercial from the 80s that still sticks with me to this day about it's supposed to be at like a fashion show, and all of a sudden blood starts spraying everywhere. It kind of reminds me of that because dark backgrounds and everything like that. But it's a pretty brutal death scene, and more brutal than I thought I remember it being. Maybe partially because I looked up the uncut version as well. But there's just a lot of like Greta gets it really, and it probably in a brutality we haven't seen. I really don't remember one being quite as brutal in like the fourth film. The fourth one I think is the most forgettable for me. I think this one's more memorable than the fourth one. Probably since the girl goes through the TV, but that's like a silly one played for laughs. And then the third one, this one is, I think part of the reason is the real life, like, oh, she's like a bulimic, or she's anorexic, kind of like that subtext of it, and the idea of her relationship with food being used against her, I think is part of the reason that's like, this is getting dark here, even for a Freddy movie. This is pretty dark, especially in the fifth movie.
Yeah, I thought it tried to go back to Dream Warriors a little bit, in that that's what happened a lot in Dream Wars. I don't remember all the characters' names, but the girl who was supposedly had a heroin addiction.
Yeah,
you know, he's got the needles for fingers and stuff. So he's playing on, you know, some of their both insecurities and like, I don't know. I think the moral, the movie is suggesting that their moral shortcomings perhaps as well, for better, for worse. So it did feel like they were going a little bit back to that, but yeah, it wasn't, it was certainly a lot more brutal and less jokey than, I mean, he does drop about 4 puns in about 30 seconds and he does call her a bitch immediately, as he's one to do. He's like, and it's kind of ham-fisted. I don't remember the line, but I think he comes in, and I initially watched the version that without the intestines, but I've seen the version that you're talking about. But he comes in, he's got a tray of like gross looking food. He's like, eat up, bitch, or something like that. It's like,
yeah, I mean, that's how he's introduced into the scene. He's walking in, just talking to the mother, and he's like, I've got a way for her to eat, and then shoves her into, like his nightmare version of a high chair for babies.
Yeah. He puts her in a high chair, kind of restricting her arms and stuff.
Yeah. So I also like about this scene is, we do cut to Alice, who is like having waking, nightmares because her fucking baby is, also asleep all the time, having nightmares. We can talk about why this makes this a bad movie, but she's having waking nightmares because of her baby, and she opens the fridge, and then there's a lot of there's just like a lot of stop motion that happens in the fridge with the food rotting and then growing eyeballs and shit like that. And then Greta's in the fridge, freaking out, like with her big, she has the big end of cheeks. Yeah. She has the big cheeks from the end of Big Trouble in Little China, where the guy blows himself up. She has those big cheeks.
That's true. It is more like that. Cause I was going to say it's almost a Monty Python type of effect, but you're right. It actually is more like Big Trouble in Little China. That's actually the most memorable part of the scene for me. If you would have said like, what do you imagine when you talk about this scene or Greta's death? I immediately thought of the big prosthetic cheeks that are like all blown out. That was the most memorable part for me. But I do like the fridge scene too, because it's like they go in and it's like a fucked up version of Pee-wee's fridge.
Right.
Where there's all the stop motion things happening, fun things happening in Pee-wee's fridge. And in this, it's just like all the food just goes all fucked up. It just gets evil food and it turns like all yucky and stuff.
Yeah. I do like, I just think the creepy laughter at the table is one of the things I was like, this is different than the other scenes for whatever reason. I just, rich people being rich people kind of, I think for me,
it's upsetting.
The most terrifying thing of all.
Yeah. I like this scene, but I honestly didn't think it was the best scene in the movie.
I went back and forth with some of the scenes that I like. Because I like the direction of this movie, and part of it is kind of like those waking nightmare scenes.
Yeah,
where Alice just walks into a scene, like she's walking down the street, all of a sudden she's like this really weird matte painting nightmare that she's in. But yeah, those are like I prefer this over, like I said, 4 and easily like Freddy's Dead. I don't know last time I saw that one, but
don't go back to it. It's not good. But like we talked about 4 when we did the last showdown about that, and like 4 has some good scenes to it, like when he turns the woman into a giant cockroach. And that scene is probably one of the most brutal ever. And then his actual death scene in 4 is fantastic too. And that's all because of the amazing director Rennie Harlan. but this movie, I like the motorcycle scene with Danny, because this movie came out in 1989, and you can tell they had just watched Akira the year before. Is what that scene is. But I like it because like I don't think they would have had time to see Tetsuo the Iron Man, because that also came out in 89. but it's a lot of the same stuff of like, the cables wrapping Danny up and making him, more machine than man, and he's trapped into it. And then you had like this crazy, cyberpunk half man, half motorcycle going down the road. I thought that was really fucking cool. And then the comic book scene with Mark is also cool, but it's one of those ones that falls into, the Dream Master and other ones like Freddy's Dead, where it's more jokey than actual scary. Yeah. Like there's a lot of cool style and production to it, but it's not actually scary. You wouldn't be afraid to watch that. It's just like, oh, isn't that silly? It's super Freddy now. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. Very much the Power Glove sort of theme to it.
Right.
So,
yeah.
That's 4? Is that 4 where he put, 4?
No, 6 is where he puts on the Power Glove and makes Breckenmeyer.
Yeah, that was 6.
Because that's like half the fucking movie too. Like that's
it goes on forever.
That scene goes on forever. At least
because he has him Scooby-Dooing from door to door and shit. Yeah. I forgot about that. Oh man. Yeah, we actually did those both in the same episode because the last time around we had picked all the good movies. So you picked Freddy's Dead, I picked Dream Master, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't remember what the third one was.
Our guest picked 2. Or no, I think it was our patrons actually that picked 2.
Yeah, patrons picked 2, which is a singular thing, not like any other movies in the franchise. I would agree. I don't know that this would have been my most memorable scene in the movie for me, at least. The motorcycle one comes to mind, especially because I always thought like that would have been a sick action figure to have as a kid with the motorcycle with the cool face.
Yeah,
and then it goes up into takes him over. I didn't think of that before, but it is very Tetsuyo. But yeah, I like this scene. I like that they went the extra mile. I with the cheeks. I will say, I think for most people have probably saw the R-rated version, the cut, the version without the guts portion, because without you imagining the idea of eating your own guts, it really takes a lot of the sting out of the scene.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
But
I definitely think because it's like it's almost abstract. What is he feeding her, really?
Yeah. Well, I literally the one I rewatched this week was the rated R version, and you never really see him sticking much in her mouth. You just see his like hand over her mouth. It communicates he's force feeding her something, but you don't see what. So you just have to assume it's what was on his tray that he was carrying.
Right.
Yeah.
So they kind of cut.
It's very choppy too in terms of just the actual execution of like cutting it down.
Yeah.
Kind of all over the place. It feels like something was cut out.
Yeah.
But,
the other part of that is when she reappears later in Mark's death scene nightmare, and she is like this black and white doll and has the big wound in her stomach from where he was pulling her guts out. It doesn't make as much sense. Like, where did that wound come from?
Yeah,
because Freddy, you don't see Freddy stick his hand in her guts. You see him stick his hand. You see him cut up the doll that's on the tray. And so it's like a loose connection that you get, but it doesn't make as much sense. So, yeah.
Yeah, the kind of jump scare. I think probably my favorite part of the scene is, like I said, the refrigerator, but then also the little bit of the jump scare you get from her like crazy face on is Alice or whatever. When she opens up the fridge. But all right. Any final thoughts on this here scene before we move on?
I just want to say overall, I do agree that it's still a shitty movie though, because it is so, it feels like there's fun scenes in it, but the overall connective tissue of the film feels like one of those Christian scared straight, why did you kill me, mommy, like anti-abortion films.
Yeah. I think the worst part of this is the casting of the kid. Who's Duckface from Full House.
I hate that guy. And it's not because he's a bad actor. He's so good at playing hateable.
Yeah, and he's not cute. Like it was like a child actors are usually cute. Like this kid,
he's weird looking.
They made fun of him on Full House for looking like a duck, and this kid 100% looks like a duck.
Well, he would show up on a lot of like of like 90s sitcoms, and he was always like the annoying dorky kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's no Miko Hughes. That's
certainly not. He would just so you just want to hate him because you're conditioned. The poor kid's been typecast. He's always good,
right?
I think at being annoying dumb jerk kid, but he's typecast, and you're programmed as a 90s kid to go like, oh, there he is, fuck that kid.
Well, then you have the ultimate.
I'm not saying fuck that kid. I'm saying fuck that kid.
But then you have the ultimate programming of that kid being hateable because he shows up in Jurassic Park running his mouth, and then he's the kid that Sam Neill takes the Velociraptor toe to, and he's like, and they'll cut you here, and they'll cut you straight down.
That doesn't look very scary. Like a 6-foot turkey.
It's not the one you see in front of you. It's the others off to the side. They come.
And then his eyes like come together. Yeah, that kid would have done great in like and he might be. He always like a remake of like Deliverance or The Hills Have Eyes. I feel like he could have fit right in as like a psychotic, redneck, child of a murderous family.
Yeah. I mean, he still acts today. I haven't seen anything with him.
Oh yeah, you see him pop up and stuff.
Let's not forget Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter from Bruce Dickinson on this, which is funny because it was written for this song and for this movie, and it's the son.
Yeah. It's dumbass movie.
Yeah, this truly is. I don't think it's the worst movie in the franchise, but it's bottom 2. I think. Yeah,
I think after rewatching this again, there's so many good like scenes and visuals, and so I think I would put this above Freddy's Dead. I don't know if it beats out Dream Master. Dream Master, its problem is it's so fucking incomprehensible, like what the story is supposed to be.
Well, they try to capitalize on. It's funny because on Dream Master, they're trying to, because Dream Warrior is widely regarded positively, whether it's a fantastic movie or not. It's widely regarded positively. So they came in with Dream Master, and we're like, we'll bring back some of the people, but we can only bring them back for a while, and we do have this whole other script, so let's kill them off real fast and then go in a different direction. And then they do all this weird stuff that's like you said, makes no sense. Like the formula's all over the place. And I think this movie, Dream Child, they try to bring back some of the things that worked in Dream Warrior, but to no avail.
Yeah.
I would put this over Dream Master just because I don't really remember. Like I find Dream Master unmemorable, as I said. Freddy's Dead, I think, is still the worst if we're not talking about the remake. 2, like you said, it's its own thing. Like I think this is like the Halloween 3 of this series. Like it's getting a different. People are looking at it differently now, especially people are starting to come around to the metaphors of it. It is a bold choice to break all the rules. Second film that you set out in the first one,
right? Yeah,
but we covered
you don't even have to be in a dream. Main thing.
But all of a sudden now he's in the real world. It's like the second movie. Just like remember all the rules we put forth last episode. The first movie, the only movie. Well, we're gonna break every single one.
Yeah. And then in all the subsequent movies, pretend like that didn't happen.
Yeah, pretend like it didn't happen. Pretend like the rules have kind of gone back to normal. But also, we don't know what the rules are. So, I don't know. Fuck it. Yeah. We're changing directors every film anyway. It doesn't matter. Bye.
Exactly. Yeah. But as for the scene, rich people being rich, shitty people. It's got interesting camera angles in it, in the scene itself. I'm also reminded of like Brazil, like when the lady's getting her face stretched, kind of in terms of directing sort of that. But I guess I'm tapping into a fear of mine, and that's rich white people.
being stuck in a room with rich white people and having to justify yourself against them.
Yeah,
having to eat vegetables.
I would rather be anywhere else than that table.
Right.
Yeah.
And that guy's probably not going to come on to me.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
They were trying to Epstein that girl.
Oh yeah, big time.
Oh yeah, that guy was just let me traffic her.
Yeah.
He was like, I got a friend. He's pretty good at he's a modeled guy for modeling.
Let me take your daughter away to this modeling agency. She'll get all kinds of free trips.
We're gonna go to a little place I call Model Island. It's just for models.
And he says he just says he's mentioned it. He mentioned her. It's not like, oh, he's hedge. He really wants to work with you. It's like, I've told him all about you. That doesn't seem very official.
He and I have had many conversations about you.
Yeah.
Cool.
You may know him. He has a cool nickname. They call him the Donald.
Have you ever seen Home Alone 2? He's in that.
No, because Home Alone 2 hadn't come out yet.
I know, that's the joke.
No, she hadn't seen it.
All right. Let us go into our second scene of the evening. Steven, tell us about this Matthew McConaughey acting clinic that you got going on here.
Hell yeah, dude. We're going to the year 1994 when they once again try to reboot the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This one was directed by Kim Henkel. And Kim Henkel was a writer on the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. And then they tapped him to direct as well as write this one. It is a giant piece of shit because it is one of the few, if not the only, Texas Chainsaw Massacre film in which nobody is killed by a chainsaw.
They do have a chainsaw, and Leatherface threatens to kill somebody with it multiple times, but doesn't actually pull the proverbial trigger, if you will. Yeah.
Not only threatens to kill people with it, but threatens in the most haunted house, I'm not touching you way.
Yeah.
It is abysmal. But on top of that, just like everybody around Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger are pretty fucking terrible at acting. The other victims of the film are not good at acting. I will say W.E. and Darla, who are the other two kind of evil henches of the film, are fine. I think they service the scenes well, but like you don't really see anybody die on camera except for one guy who quickly has his neck broken by Matthew McConaughey. Any other scene where McConaughey has to interact with not Renee Zellweger, it stinks. Like he does a lot in this film, and he's trying a lot in this film, but if he's not acting with somebody else who can act, he kind of stinks.
Yeah, I thought it was, it's a terrible movie. Mm-hmm. It's borderline unwatchable. I think there's two big things that are just absolute failures as a Texas Chainsaw movie. Is one, the casting is horrible across the board. A couple of the victims, whatever, they can be substituted for just random teenagers or whatever. But the family is not alarming or grotesque or weird or off-putting. They're all like good looking. Even Leatherface, he has like pearly white nice teeth.
Yeah.
He looks like classically he has fucked up teeth, right? You get lots of close-ups of his fucked up teeth in previous movies. It looks like he has veneers in this movie. Like, it's bizarrely off-putting.
Yeah, he in this film, I don't know what the idea was. Like, I guess it was just to freak out the straights by making him like dress more like a woman in this one and I like that's the only thing I can come up with, that they were just.
It looked like somebody going as the villain of Tourist Trap for Halloween.
Yeah, the villain of Tourist Trap, or if you remember the 1989 Batman film, when Jack Nicholson he has like kind of the blonde lady that accompanies him, and then he disfigures her with acid. So when she's out in public, she has like this porcelain mask that has like red lipstick on it. That's what Leatherface is like looks like, because the supposed face or skin that he's wearing in this film is like this porcelain lady skin. And so like everybody looks a little too good. But this is why I say this is a good scene and a bad movie, because if you take out the fact that it's supposed to be a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie and just look at it from the aspect of, you know, a woman being menaced by like an illiterate, you know, backwoods Illuminati cult family, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't like I mean, again, this is also why the movie's bad. I don't like that the Sawyer family is part of like the Illuminati. Like they have a family member that's like you know, is like an elite, you know, in the Illuminati. That's weird. That's dumb. These are supposed to be lost people who you stumbled upon, that lived in this backwards nature out in the middle of you know, of the woods. And like adding that element to it takes all that classic creepiness of a killer redneck movie completely out of the picture.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. That's why I didn't pick any of the subsequent scenes, because I think it works in the scene that I'm talking about. And so the scene I'm talking about, it's about 51 minutes into the film, and it is after Renee Zellweger's character has been captured by Darla, and she's been thrown in the trunk of a car, and she's been brought to the main Sawyer house. And, you know, they are in the kitchen, and they drag Renee Zellweger out of the trunk of the car, and they sit her down in the kitchen, and like the family is fighting amongst themselves. And then, you know, just W.E., who is like this he's an annoying Southern character who just like quotes a bunch of literature but doesn't actually understand it, you know, in a way that's meaningful. And then Darla, who is this seemingly subservient and captive girlfriend of Vilmer, are going at it while Vilmer is just like stewing and pissed off. And then he just tells everybody to shut the fuck up, commands the room, and rips open the garbage bag that's over Renee Zellweger's head. And the way he gets in her face, like the acting that happens in this scene feels dangerous. Like it feels like I actually went and looked up to see if like Renee Zellweger came out and said anything about it in a way of like, yeah, he went too far, or like this wasn't a good experience for me. But she actually still kind of stands behind it. So yeah. But like he's in her face, he's choking her. He like takes his two fingers and jams it into her mouth on either side of her mouth. And it's like, it feels dangerous at that time, because you don't know exactly what he's going to do. And just the way he's antagonizing her. The other thing about this scene that I think is good is that the way everybody's fighting is like, it is reminiscent of that original dinner table scene from the first film, because everybody's shouting, it's loud, everybody, you know, it points, Leatherface is just screaming at the top of his lungs, which is still feels, even though everything else feels out of line, that still feels in line with the character of just a simpleton screaming in the corner, because he doesn't know how to regulate his emotions in any way. And just like he's basically a dog that needs to be pointed in a direction. Otherwise he's, you know, freaking out, you know, because he needs his thunder buddy or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, yeah,
that's a great visual. Leatherface with a thunder jacket on, like you would put on like a small dog.
He needs to be wrapped in a weighted blanket so he calms down.
Yeah.
So you have all that going on, and the production design of just like how messy the house is also on point. So like if you divorce this from being a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, it's pretty good. The way they are like just torturing Renee Zellweger, and the way that Darla exists she exists as like the good cop of this trio of good cop, bad cop, asshole cop, crazy dog cop.
Crazy dog cop. Yeah, I agree to a certain extent. I struggle to get past the idea, look at it through the lens that it's not a Texas Chainsaw movie, because they're so closely trying to replicate that iconic dinner table scene from the first movie, which is that is one of the scenes that is burned into my brain from watching as an adolescent. I probably watched Texas Chainsaw for the first time and I was maybe like, I don't know, 12 or 13 years old. And I remember watching that scene and just like the cacophony of sound and chaos happening in that movie. And they're talking about her like she's not even there. Like they're just arguing with themselves and she's just like an afterthought that's going to get killed eventually, but they're not really in a hurry. And they're not, that scene, it was so effective to me. And they're trying to do that here, but it's not, there's too many level heads in the room. You know what I mean? Like everyone, not enough people are cuckoo bananas poo brains in the room. You know what I mean? To pull it off.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If
I don't like the pretty sister who actually lives and works in the real world. It's not a sister. I know it's like she's
sister girlfriend,
like part of the family.
Sister girlfriend.
Yeah, it's sister girlfriend. Sure. I think she does an okay job, but I don't like her part in the movie. And she's not really like, she's trying to diffuse.
Yeah.
And like, it becomes less threatening when you have someone on your side.
I think it becomes more threatening because like she's far more in danger. And I like the way that Darla is diffusing it because she's trying to diffuse it with conspiracy theories. Like it's not just, like, oh no, don't worry, he's not going to hurt you. It's, oh, he works for this cult that has been at this for thousands and 2,000 years old. And they put a thing in my brain and they'll blow my head up if I don't. And like, I think that's all great until the point that they actually confirm that's real. I think that's one of the worst. And that's why I didn't pick the official dinner table scene of this movie, because it is such a cheap imitation of the original dinner table scene. And they introduce all that Illuminati shit as real. Like, I like the idea that there is just like this conspiracy brained maniac who thinks like Vilmer works for a higher power. And then to reveal that there is no higher power is better than that there is.
Yeah. But again, we have to suspend some disbelief and pretend the movie is something different than it is for that to play out. You know what I mean?
But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about best scenes in a bad movie. If you take this out of Texas Chainsaw and you put it into its own movie about conspiracy, right-wing backwoods nut jobs, it becomes something interesting and something better. If you just got to strip all the branding and all the desire to be Texas Chainsaw off of it, and then you actually have a good movie that has like really intense acting because he's shoving his fingers in her throat. He's like doing weird little, countdown rhymes with a knife to her throat of like this, the erratic countdown when you don't know how, like he's speeding up and slowing down. He's like 10, 9, and then 7, 8, and then putting the shotgun in his mouth is fucking great.
Yeah. I mean, I hated him in this movie so much. I hated him so much. And by this point, I was like, it became very hard to like anything he did because he was acting with a capital A.
Yes.
The entire time.
Yes.
He's doing a
when
lot.
he was doing the like slap himself in the face stuff, I'm like, dude, what? Come on. Like, this is laughably bad. And like, so it's impossible for me to take this one scene out of context and say, well, imagine all that stuff didn't happen. And he wasn't horrible up to this point. Now imagine this as like the first time he goes wacky. But unfortunately, it's not the first time he's gone wacky. He's been acting like this the whole movie. I understand the physicality of grabbing her and stuff is like felt a little like risky and intense, but I think the bigger problem in this scene and an equal problem in the movie is that Matthew McConaughey is here.
Yeah.
He's at 11.
Yeah.
And Renee Zellweger is at a 2. The whole movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's at a 2. I think she's at a 2 up until, again, this scene. Like, she seems...
But she doesn't even act like she's that worried half the time that he's actually going to do it.
Yeah, this was kind of my going back and forth about, like, where do I cut off this scene? Because there's the initial meeting, and then there's that little interstitial with her and Darla in another room, but then they come right back to this side kitchen and just, you know, continue the scene before she escapes. And I think when she escapes out the house is like definitely the end of the scene before they, you know, and I think stuff in that second return to that side kitchen is worse because like when she picks up the gun, she's definitely at it too. But when he has her in the chair at first and when he has the knife to her throat, she seems genuinely terrified. And I think that's good. But like when she has the gun, she's pretty awful. She's like, no, you sit down. No, you don't talk. No. Hey, you're going to kill her. Hey now, mister, you're going to kill her. Don't do that. And it's kind of like,
yeah.
Like she should have been screaming over top of them.
Yeah. Same issue earlier. I think it's the first time she meets Vilmer when they're in the car. He literally tells her, hey, look in the back, see what I got for you. And it's like her dead friends. And he's like, what do you think about that? She's like, well, I think you should let me out of the car so I can leave. Like, girl.
She's like, whenever she gets in the car, first of all the red flags, but she gets in fine.
Right.
And then he's like, starts talking about instances. If you were trying to make somebody not scared to get in the car with you or put somebody at ease in a weird situation.
Yeah.
Of course you wouldn't start talking about situations with picking up, hitchhikers that had gone bad, but of course he's there to menace her. Right.
Right.
So that makes sense. It makes sense for his character to do that. But Anthony, to your point, she doesn't seem to be picking up on it.
Yeah.
Like he's laying it on really thick. Like, I'm going to terrorize you. You got in the wrong car. And she's like, well, if you keep up that talk, I'm not even going to ride with you. Like,
she's like, well, you better not.
Yeah.
She thinks it's a joke the whole time. Even after she's seen 2 dead bodies hanging in the back of his truck.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, it's a really horribly bad movie. And I would agree that I think that scene, and specifically when they're in that side kitchen, and he's on his knees, like in front of her. And like you say, he's grabbing her throat and stuff. I think that's probably the most effective single, 90 seconds in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's good.
Now,
personally.
Can we also possibly, I'm going to make an appeal.
Okay.
Can you guys also possibly find it in your hearts to grade on a curve? Because this film is considered one of the worst of all the Texas Chainsaw films, even worse than the 2022, even worse than the one with Alexandra Daddario and her big boobs, worse than all those. And it's also the worst film of the 3 that we're doing tonight. So
that is true. I would 100% agree that it is the worst film of what we're doing tonight. My argument would be that this isn't the least bad scenes in bad movies. It is good scenes in bad movies.
And I'm still contending it is a good scene, and I think it's a good. You can disagree, but I'm just saying, I think it's finding a real shining gem out of a bunch of dog shit, because you can see a lot of early Matthew McConaughey doing Matthew McConaughey stuff, like when he's smacking himself in the fucking head and just going, whoa, when he's doing that shit. He does that shit later in fucking Wolf of Wall Street, and that movie everybody loves. So fuck off.
He is so obnoxiously acting in this movie. Like, it is the definition of chewing the scenery.
Yeah.
When he comes out, and he's also like weirdly, the thing about the Sawyer family is that they are backwoods as hell.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand. Most of them don't really understand and can't really fit into society. So the stuff they do and say, even when the way they express their emotions even, are weird and foreign. And Matthew McConaughey feels like a meathead that just, made a tackle in a junior high football game. You know what I mean?
He's too handsome. He's too handsome for this movie.
Yeah.
He's definitely too handsome for this movie, but he's not weird enough. He's a jockey, handsome guy trying to act weird. Like, I was gonna say, imagine like the
scene where he crushes the girl's head and fucking comes from it is pretty weird and unpleasant to watch.
It is, but we don't see it.
No, you don't see the head crush. Instead, you see his face fucking turn beet red, and then he fucking screams and cries and cuts himself about it. Like, that's wild.
That might be the best scene in the movie. That actually might be the best scene in the movie. I forgot about that, because you hear a lot of crunching.
Yeah.
And he stops and then starts again too.
Yeah.
If I recall.
Yeah. And I almost picked that. Yeah, I almost picked that, but it's too connected to the dinner party scene, and the sound design includes too much of his fucking crazy power glove leg, sound going off, and it's like it just makes it too silly for me. So that's why I didn't pick that one. But
yeah. I will say, like, he's doing way too much for what this movie deserves, but it also juxtaposed to what he did for like 15 years in terms of other movies. It's like we were robbed of what Matthew McConaughey could have been doing instead of, just half the time in romantic comedies and half the time just getting fucked up on a beach, which, I get it.
Yeah. Well, it's honestly, you can just tell the exact moment in his career where he switched from coke to weed. Like, sure. As a human, his personality changed 180 degrees.
Ron in the chat wants you to remember, Brian, that Viggo Mortensen was too handsome for Leatherface Texas Chainsaw 3. So
that's also a bad movie, but they did make him they made him look a little grosser, at least.
So
in this he's just sweaty in this movie.
McConaughey, seeing as how he was in all those romantic, the Texas Chainsaw, bringing his girlfriend over to meet his family. His family winds up being the Texas Chainsaw family, Massacre family, and it's like a romantic comedy.
I'm looking up pictures here, and Ron, you're right. He was way too good looking.
Yeah, Viggo's
for that movie too.
Yeah, Viggo's a little pretty. He actually looks like Sawyer from Lost while playing a Sawyer.
Yeah, he is too good looking for that movie. But also, that movie fucking sucks too. There's only two good Texas Chainsaw movies. And honestly, the one that came on like Netflix a few years ago, I remember having a little bit of fun with that too. So okay. Any final thoughts? Anything else you want to bring up in regards to in regards to this particular scene?
No. At least I picked a bad movie, and
You did pick a bad movie.
and that may or may not be related onto what we go to next.
Yeah. So, listen, I'm prepared to have a conversation about this. Let's get into my movie then. I'm going to talk about 2022 Skinamarink, directed by Kyle Edward Ball, which most folks would admit is a polarizing movie. It made a lot of money on an extremely small budget. I saw that it was made for as little as $15,000.
Mm-hmm.
Then I saw other ones that said it was like $300,000. Anyway, very small budget. I think the number one word when you think about this movie, in terms of the way people have talked about it, it is maybe the most polarizing movie that I can think of. Certainly of the last 20 years in the horror genre. Because it is, I have seen This Is Not a Movie, and I shut it off after 5 minutes, and fuck you if you like it, all the way to this is the most impactful movie watching experience of my life. And everything in between.
Sure.
I tend to actually like this movie, but I will say I watched it twice. First, one time, a few months after it hit streaming, and then a second time for this. Between the time it changed a lot because it was, as you might imagine, a whole lot less impactful the second time because it is an experience, I would say. Some other people might say that watching it multiple times, you get more out of it, whatever. The other thing, because I knew where it was going. You never know where it's going. You never know. It's extremely open-ended. And I remember when I first watched it, I went down a rabbit hole of figuring out, or just theories, right? Of what people thought about it, what it was supposed to be, the meaning of it, everything from, it has a lot of different themes involved in it that are kind of, I would say, undeniable. But things like childhood trauma, child abuse and neglect. But then it went all down this crazy rabbit hole of children of depressed parents. Of course, some people were like, no, it's just actual demons torturing children for eternity, which could be, right?
Sure.
That might be a little bit of a surface level reading on it, but it could be. Some people were like, no, it's just a childhood nightmare, of kids like remembering, moments right after they woke up, kind of thing. A really convincing one, which I don't know, convincing is a strong word. I don't think I buy it because I think there were a lot of leaps of faith you had to take, but there was like a 45-minute YouTube video I found of someone convincing you that it was the kid had brain cancer.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, it's kind of convincing. And then I went back and watched it the second time and I'm like, some of the things you said were really obvious, weren't very obvious. So, he had this whole thing about the kid was in a coma the whole time. And, it was the kid dying and passing over to the afterlife, just all over the place. Right. But the idea here is two kids, who are, I'm going to say, I don't know, 5 and 8.
Well, one's definitely 4 because he says he's 4 on the phone.
Oh yeah, of course he's 4. Yeah, 4. The brother's 4, and then the sister might be, I don't know, let's say 7 or 8. They wake up in a house, in their house, in the middle of the night. Their dad is gone. Their mom is distraught, and she's also kind of coming and going. There's very little lines in the movie, very little dialogue. A lot of the dialogue, unless you have the closed captioning on, you won't even necessarily be able to pick up what they're saying. Like, this is a movie you absolutely have to watch with the closed caption on. They also, the house is changing. Doors, windows, the toilet is disappearing. So the thing that changed it for me also is I read House of Leaves between the first time I watched it and the second time I watched it.
Yeah.
Which really puts a little bit of a different perspective on the movie, because I couldn't stop thinking about, the story within the story of in House of Leaves.
I think I was on one of my failed read throughs when I had seen this as well.
Yeah, I would say so. This is hard to say decidedly that this is a good movie, traditionally speaking. As a movie, I would argue that it is, it's at best challenging, and at worst unwatchable. Like the second time, I struggled to get through it. After that first initial experience, which when I did enjoy it, but I will say, I think coincidentally was very much in the right headspace to watch it the first time. I think if I wasn't in the right headspace and I was more in the mood for something that has, like a plot and action and dialogue and things like that, I would have given up on it 20 minutes in. I think it does one thing, like one hyper specific thing really well, which is it visually translates the feeling of childhood fear and confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you think the kid has, is sick, or you just fell down the stairs and is concussed, or there's a demon torturing them forever. There's a lot of ways you can interpret it, and nobody could tell you any of them are wrong because it's so open-ended, but it does do a really good job of translating that childhood fear and confusion, where you don't know what anybody else is talking about, what they're there for, and you're just kind of along for the ride and you feel pretty helpless. So I think for a lot of people, it nailed that particular bit of maybe I don't want to say repressed memories, but just maybe a feeling you hadn't felt since you were a kid and maybe forgot a little bit about.
Yeah, I think I may have done a write up on this on our Patreon, but
okay.
It is something I pointed out exactly, that it is exactly the feeling if you were ever a kid that had parents, not that they were completely absent, but maybe you woke up in your house alone because maybe you had one parent working overnights and then another parent just had to go out to get something, and they left you alone to sleep because they just figured it's easier to run out, grab something real quick and come back, which that had happened to me quite a few times. And if you ever woken up into an empty house where you don't know where anybody is, that's exactly what this film captures. And it is that confusion and fear of not knowing where your parents are and everything seeming bigger and scarier and darker when you're alone.
Yeah. And I think to add on to that, which leads me into the end scene of the movie, the idea of when you're alone and when it's dark, especially as a kid, your eyes play tricks on you, right? You start to think you see things that aren't there. And I saw this as a criticism that a lot of people had, which I think is a valid one, is very little happens in the movie. There are a couple of jump scares, really borderline manipulative jump scares where I'm just like, come on, dude. Like the one with the little,
the phone,
the one with the little phone. You're just like, that's just not consistent with anything else that's happening in the movie, but okay, whatever. Otherwise, there really aren't much scares. It's just very atmospheric. And most of the things that I think lend creepiness to it are, okay, we're going to sit and stare at a hallway that is just blacked out on one side because of the way it's lit. And we're just going to stare at this for 90 seconds. And if you're watching intently, you can start to think oh, did I just see something? Because the way it's shot, Steve, you probably could verbalize this better than me, but this kind of I don't know if it's an exposure thing. I don't know if they shot it in a certain way or they put some sort of filter over it, but it's that idea that there's just a lot of like movement on film, like of the lighting in the film itself.
Like
I don't
noise.
know how they're getting. Well, yeah, and there's a lot of noise. There's this constant like humming thing. But there's just like when you're just looking at something that's pitch black, there's still a lot of like little bits of flecks of movement and light that you're seeing.
So, okay, so I believe this film was filmed on 16 millimeter.
Okay,
but watching it feels like it's been layered in a certain way. So you have the 16 millimeter, and then on top of it, I think they do a lot with like displacement maps of creating that feeling of motion and rippling images, and it gives it a little bit of that dreamlike movement to it. And then on top of that, they added another layer of noise and damage that kind of reblends into the 16 millimeter. So I think there are like a lot of layers that are like doing effects that are near imperceptible.
Yeah.
But they're kind of perceptible.
Especially when I find it, especially when you're just staring at a black screen, is when it really becomes perceptible.
Yeah. Like I think there's like certain subjective masks that like you have to be looking at the right thing in the scene. So like I think one of the earlier ones is like it's just a frame of like a bed and one of those big 1990s vase lamps on the end table, and like if you look at the shade on the end table, it looks like there's like a rippling effect coming down the shade, but like I don't think there's much motion elsewhere. So like there's motion in certain parts of the frame sometimes. So I think they did a lot of interesting things with that. And I don't know if you're including this into the scene that you're talking about, but there is a scene where they switch to where Kaylee would be sitting on the bed, and it kind of fades up and you see Kaylee in this scene, but she's like incredibly hard to see because the scene itself is very dark. The frame is very dark, and then she disappears within the frame.
Yeah, she kind of fades away. Yeah, I wasn't going to talk about that one specifically, but I think just all of the instances of us staring into darkness or extremely low light scenes for extended amounts of time. And we're starting to, I think at least I was, and I was reading online, a lot of other people shared in this kind of phenomenon, which was they kept thinking they were seeing things, but then a lot of people were like, you saw something in the corner and you thought something was coming through the darkness, but it never did. And that was really effective. And other people were like, yeah, you think you're seeing something, but then nothing ever comes. And that's fucking dumb, So like, I think it was a very polarizing effect, but I will say that the way it culminates, and I will get into my specific scene here. The way it culminates is, basically the last, let's say 4 to 5 minutes of the movie, we have the 4-year-old boy. His parents are gone. His sister has now kind of faded away before his eyes. And he says, like, earlier in the movie, they were just like sitting in front. They just kept going back, and like their safe space, if you will, was sitting in front of the TV watching old cartoons. And he's like, let's watch something happy or something like that. And then he goes to he ends up going through this door, and on the other side of the door is just like blackness. And it is truly just black. You don't see anything. You're seeing a little, like I said, besides that little bit of movement and like discoloration that we already described. And then the thing that you were expecting or speculating or talking yourself into happening the entire way through the movie finally happens in the last couple of minutes. But it happens extremely gradual, So for about 10 seconds, you're questioning as to whether or not it's like one of the, those, what are those called? Those paintings with the,
a magic
where
eye.
you blur. Yeah, magic eye painting. You're almost for a second wondering if you're seeing a magic eye painting, because you're starting to see this like kind of globular face come out of the darkness. And then eventually you're like, oh no, it's definitely there. Then it kind of makes itself, but it's certainly never clear. And it's talking very low. You can't really hear what it's saying. Again, you almost have to have the closed captions on, and it's like what's your name? And then then the kid's like, what's your name? And then like nothing really ever happens, which I think really pissed a lot of people off.
Sure.
But the fact that the thing that you thought was going to happen the whole time, which was something was going to peek through the darkness, finally happens in the last couple of minutes. And it's this weird dreamlike globular kind of face that doesn't answer any questions and is clearly not one of the parents and not the sister. It is presumably whatever this entity is in the house, is now face to face in the pitch black with the kid. I thought was pretty effective. But yeah, this is not a traditionally bad movie, although if you go on the internet, you will certainly find an enormous amount of people. If you just look on the Shudder reviews, the amount of people that were like, the person who made this movie should be dragged into the street and shot. Like, they hate this movie.
Shudder has some of the most violent and vicious like reviewers for stuff, because I've looked at some of them for other films, and it's like, what are you talking about? Like, how? Yeah,
they hate good stuff on. It's funny because I love Shudder.
Yeah.
I love Shudder. I love the app. I love the way it's curated. I really enjoy it. I've always liked it. I'll be a subscriber as long as they have it. But the viewers of Shudder fucking like the people who write reviews on Shudder fucking
it's not even the viewers, because we're all viewers of Shudder, and I don't think any of us have written a review on Shudder.
Never.
I didn't even realize Shudder had reviews.
See, so
it's just like a little force skull thing, like any streaming service, like you can do on Netflix. You give it however many thumbs up or whatever, and then you can write. And yeah, some of the most ridiculous shit people write on there. But just the internet at large, this movie is, like I said, very, very polarizing.
Yeah.
And I know your argument is going to be it's not a bad movie.
Yeah, because it's not.
It's a good movie.
Because it's not. It's a good movie. And my argument argument is exactly that. And my other argument is that it is an experimental film that broke containment. And dumbass normies are not supposed to watch experimental films, because it does make them violently mad. It makes them upset to watch experimental film. Like, they don't like it. I think there's a spectrum to experimental film, because we've watched A Field in England on this show, and it has experimental moments to it, and it is hard to parse, and it's a very obtuse film, but you can read and then understand the narrative. This one obviously is full of fan theories, but this is just much more of a vibes based film. It's still not full experimental. Like full experimental is Stan Brakhage gluing bugs to film and projecting that on the screen with no audio. That's full experimental film. But this is, an experimental film of like, I'm not gonna film actors for the most part. I'm not going to set up traditional camera setups. I'm not even going to run any kind of sound that's non-diegetic, with the exception of the sound of the camera, which I'm sure is added in, but like you get the sense that it is diegetic for some reason. And then the sound of whatever's on the TV, and the occasional sound effect of something popping in and out. But other than that,
Yeah.
like, there's no music to this film. It's still, it's quiet. Like, this is an experimental film, but it doesn't make it a bad film just because normies get mad at it.
Yeah, I understand. But you could also say that, and I guarantee you, if you looked online, there are a ton of people who love both of your movies.
No.
And
No.
well, maybe not
No,
yours.
I literally, you didn't see this while you were, pontificating, but I posted the letterbox kind of gradients in the chat.
Yeah.
And it's very clearly that your film is fine. It's just maligned by dum-dums who got tricked into watching experimental film. Your film has tons of 5-star and 4.5s and 4-star reviews, whereas both Anthony and I's films do not have that.
I guarantee you there are so many people who love The Dream Child.
They don't. You can go across.
It only has 22 fans on
Letterboxd.
Letterboxd.
I've gone through, because this is part of my big case that I wanted to make, and I've gone through IMDb rankings, Letterboxd rankings, and Metacritic rankings, as well as if we want to look at Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes, I don't know how much that counts, but like Skinamarink has positive critic reviews up into the 70s. You know, our films don't.
Well, what about the public?
Oh,
review?
they hate it because they're fucking idiots. They're not supposed to watch this movie.
Well, that's
it's not for
but
them.
but they put it out on streaming services. They promoted it.
Whose fucking fault is that? Is it theirs or?
That's well, that's what I'm saying. Is like this movie, the average person, I think the average horror movie would not think of this as a quote unquote good movie.
Yeah, they wouldn't. But like in this case, I don't think their opinion matters because they are watching it through the lens of thinking they're getting a Paranormal Activity or some shit like that.
I'm just
have
saying,
been marketed.
I'm sick and tired of your elitist bullshit.
I don't care.
You are one of those guys sitting at the table eating crudité in Anthony's movie. That is you right now.
I'm a crudité fella. I love a celery, and I love a peanut butter, and I love raisins on that peanut butter. That's my crudité.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: like you could trick the general public into watching Holy Motors, and they're going to fucking hate it. Like, you can trick people into watching stuff. And if you trick people, then they got tricked. That's all it is. And if you trick them into watching experimental film when they don't want to watch experimental film, they're going to get upset. They're going to give it bad reviews because they're like, what the fuck is this bullshit? I had to sit for an hour 40 for nothing to happen except for that little telephone screaming at me. This is fucking bullshit. Don't you ever. I'll fucking kill you, Joe Bob. Don't you ever put this on Shudder again. I'm coming for you.
Well, this is the thing is like, this is the reverse argument of a million franchises that are worth so much money, like Fast and the Furious. Like they're bad movies, but they're really popular. So do we say because they're made for idiots, the idiots' opinions don't matter?
Yeah.
Because I think the argument was the opposite when you were defending those movies.
When was I defending those movies? I don't.
Well, we talked about it for 10 months.
That's not defending them. That's just, brother, you're getting worked into a shoot on that one. I don't love those movies. I like the stunts in those movies. All of those movies are full of problematic, pro-Christian fucking shit that we've talked about before.
I have heard you defend some just big budget, stupid action movies.
Yeah, sure. There's probably a few I've defended, but like...
Yeah. And all I'm saying is that's the inverse argument of this. And you are picking when trash is okay, and when dumb people's opinions are valid, and when dumb people's opinions are not valid. To suit your own argument, and how dare you? That's all I'm saying.
I don't think that's what I'm doing, because I'm pretty sure I don't actually defend the Fast and Furious movies. I just defend stunts in them. But
yeah,
like, sure, you can find some big budget action films that I do like, but I like, for the most part, you'll never hear me defend them over Hard Boiled. Hard Boiled's number one always, followed by Exiled, followed by The Killer 89. Like, yeah, I'm going to defend those movies because those movies fucking rule and they almost kill people sometimes. That's great. But in general, I don't find that like public opinion should dictate everything because public opinion loves McDonald's. But Fast and
I love McDonald's.
And Fast and Furious is McDonald's.
And you know what?
Sure.
I just decided I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1994.
Okay, great. Thanks. Vote for my movie at the end.
No, it's not a bad movie. I love it.
Well, it doesn't matter what you think because the ratings say otherwise, that it's a bad movie.
All right. We've achieved an impasse. I think it's a good scene. I think the movie is at best polarizing. Okay. So let's vote. Let us vote. I think we should vote in the same order that we talked about our movies. That's what I say. So to the victors go the spoils. This is my decision to make. So you boys get to vote. And Anthony, what's your vote?
Okay, so that's a tough. I kind of wish I didn't have to go first because I am one of those dumb people that watched Skinamarink and then it was nothing happened for an hour 40 minutes. But
because you sat down and you might not have liked. You might even want that movie at that point.
I am self-aware enough to know that it was just a movie not for me. So when I was coming on this and Steve told me Skinamarink, I was like, oh, well, I didn't realize, is that universally considered bad? I was surprised. Again, I spend my weeks in the trash heap, so what's up and what's down is tough for me to figure out sometimes. Skinamarink for me, I went back and I watched it today. It's a movie that just really wants to edge you the whole time, and with no payoff. But I can't deny that those last few scenes are effective in the way that a jump scare is effective, really, because you are expecting that jump scare. We've been taught to expect when you're walking through a hallway and it's there and it's just staring at this, something's going to happen, whether or not it's going to be behind you or where you're looking, right? And I'm vamping because I don't know what my pick is going to be. Obviously, I'm going to pick my movie is
sure.
my first pick, obviously, but it's always the second movie on this show, really.
Yep.
But Texas Chainsaw Massacre, not two, but the Next Generation, right? It's the Next Generation, New Generation, something like
Next
that.
Generation, yeah.
Next Generation is Matthew McConaughey acting off for a movie that doesn't deserve it. He does pop, even when he's going too much, he pops off the screen. It's like this guy's a star, as crazy as he's being. And I do appreciate those scenes. I went back, I watched the scene Steve was talking about. I also went back and just picked up started rolling scenes that with Renee Zellweger in it and just him and her together. And he's crazy in it. But I think, what is my pick? I haven't even decided. Because are there any last pleas from you guys? How about that? Last words on your movies on why I should pick it.
Great on a curve, and this was Renee Zellweger's first film, so you can't fault her too much for doing her best on her first film ever.
And her original face, too.
Yeah, and her original face.
That's true. I would say, which one of these movies? I think that I picked the best scene in my movie. I'm not 100% sure Steve picked the best scene in his movie. He might have picked the best 20 seconds in his movie. So I think my movie is the culmination, or my scene is the culmination of my movie. And I think it's not a payoff, but it's the culmination of the thing that the movie did well.
Okay. Yeah. So I think I'm going to go with the movie that I feel like the scene itself stands out above more than the rest of the film. And I think that's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation. I think that movie goes so much further through to the depths of badness compared to Skinamarink that I think,
it is definitely a worse movie. I mean, there's no arguing that.
Yeah, I think the level from it's the worst parts of that compared to the scene that he picked. There's a bigger chasm between Skinamarink best scenes and its worst scenes, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes total sense because Skinamarink is basically just a white noise through the majority of it. So
Yes.
yeah, the very dregs of Texas Chainsaw versus the very best is up there. Oh damn, I forgot something to add to my plea. I already won your vote, Anthony, but I forgot something to add to my plea, and maybe this will give me an edge on Brian.
You want you want to put it? Yeah. let's say I didn't pick, and now you got
the scene where they go to the pizza shop where Darla's picking up pizzas and the cops come up behind her.
Mm-hmm.
The female cop in that car is Steve Austin's wife, Deborah.
Oh, really?
Man, the one he assaulted?
Yeah, the one he assaulted. Hey, I don't. But you remember her? She was in WWF.
What about his? Oh, wait a second. Wrestlers doing domestic violence? What?
A history of carny folk just beating each other.
Yeah.
Surprises. They're not wrestlers because they're smart, right?
Yeah.
Carny folk doing crimes?
All right, Steve, what's your vote?
I think it should be pretty obvious. Obviously, I'm sticking with Texas Chainsaw as my first vote, but I think it should be kind of obvious by all the grandstanding I did about Skinamarink is not a bad film. I still don't think it's a bad film. I think it's an experimental film that hit a lot of people in the right way because it obviously resonated with a lot of people. It resonated with me, even though I actually do personally think it should be cut down by about 30 minutes or so. It's long, but I think...
Yeah, it's long. It's long.
But in the same spirit, if I'm going to say it's an experimental film, then you have to look at film as just saying it's as long as it wants to be. Like, art is just art.
Yeah.
And you just have to let it be that way. Like, this film was made for $15,000, and it was made as a piece of art to transmit the vibes of being a little kid in the 90s, which I think hit a lot of people who are currently in their 30s and 40s. So, hey, it did its job. If it's unsatisfying to you, it's unsatisfying to you, and that just happens. But I don't think that makes it a bad movie. I think it's just not a movie most people should be watching.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street is a bad movie. Like, it just has a lot of bad messaging, and it's the fifth in a failing to return series. Like, we're talking diminishing returns, and it only gets worse to go to Freddy's Dead. So I don't think Anthony picked the best scene in his movie either, but it's still a good scene comparative to just like the rest of the mishmash of like shit that's in that movie. Yeah. So, I'm going to go with Nightmare on Elm Street 5.
All right. Well, your boy's out of the hunt here. I knew it was a risk going with something that's polarizing as opposed to universally thought about as bad. But I thought it was a more interesting, the why people hate it or why a person would vehemently. Oh my God, I can't speak. Vehemently think is bad. Was an interesting conversation, but ultimately worked against me. So getting back to you guys' movies, I don't think that either of the scenes you guys picked are my favorite scenes in either one of your movies. but I do think Steve's plea is going to play to his advantage here because that movie's such a stinker. It's so bad. And for even one little tiny moment of it to feel impactful, which it does, the point, even if it is only 20 seconds, 40 seconds, I do think that it sticks out because goddamn, that movie is unfucking watchable. Absolutely unwatchable. And even that scene, most of it is unwatchable, but there is this quick moment where Matthew McConaughey really goes for it and he's acting his balls off and he's just forcing Renee Zellweger to come along for the ride. And it's not good, but it's good in comparison to everything else.
It's exciting. Gets you going. Nobody knows what it means. It's provocative.
Yeah. So against my better judgment, I am going to vote for the return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, aka Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, aka fuck this movie, I'm never watching it again. And I told myself that. I told myself that in 2005, and here I am 20 years later watching it again. And I hope I'm dead before I have to watch it a third time.
Sure. Great. That means I get to pick the punishment movie. Punishment time.
Yeah.
You know what, Brian? The past two times you won, you've picked some pretty nice films.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun with Surf 2, and I think by you picking Surf 2, you fucking spared yourself this time.
Okay.
Because I had so much fun with Surf 2 and fucking Bow Bow. It was so good. And I also kind of want to make it up to you because I suggested we do that movie Siam, which was fucking a stinker.
Yeah.
I want to make it up to you, and I want to go back to I want to go to something in the same vein, but I know is going to be leagues better, in leagues sillier, in leagues just better action, better fight scenes.
Okay.
I am taking from the year 1980 as our punishment.
Okay.
And Anthony, you are welcome to come join us next week to do this film as well. Encounters of the Spooky Kind. Starring and directed by one Sammo Hung.
Oh.
This movie sounds very familiar, and I don't know if it's because I have seen it or if it's because it's been on my like Letterboxd watch list for 9 years, and I just never watched it. Encounters of the Spooky Kind. Oh yes, I have seen this one. This is a fun movie. This is a fun movie, although it's been a little while. Yes, I have seen this one. This has got an absolutely unforgettable poster as well.
Yeah, the poster is batshit. Like, yeah. Sammo Hung looks fucking crazy on it for whatever reason. Like, it's
looking at it right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe I saw this movie as a double feature with Ricky O, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I figured we could do this one. I've watched the trailer and I've watched a good part of the film, and I was like, this is very back down our line of The Boxer's Omen, but this time starring Sammo Hung, who's very well known, and obviously the action is going to be better. So yeah, I wanted to do a make good because of how stinky Siam was, and the fact that Surf 2 was good. So I'm doing a good punishment this week.
I like it. I like a silly this is Taiwanese, right? Is this Taiwanese?
Should be Hong Kong if it's directed by Sammo Hung.
Oh, it's Hong Kong, yes. I just watched Mr. Vampire, which is similar in that there's spookies and a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
Tons of stunts, a lot of fighting. I feel like all these 80s Hong Kong movies were like genre films were like half spooky, half beat 'em ups, fighting, tumbling, a lot of people getting thrown into other groups of people, getting knocked down, sprawling everywhere.
This film has the one thing that we allude to often, but I don't know if we've ever featured on the show. But it has the jumping vampire.
Yeah, it has hopping vampires. You know what? I don't. Was this a double feature with Ricky O, or this might have been a double feature with the aforementioned Mr. Vampire, which I've seen many, many times, which is a notorious hopping vampire movie.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Vampire there's lots of hopping vampires. love a hopping vampire. Okay, our first official soiree on the show proper with hopping vampires, which I'm not going to complain about. All right, any final thoughts before we wrap this up and we get back to our what? There's got to be only about 5 remaining hours of SummerSlam left.
Sure,
so.
Right. Yeah, how about Anthony? You let everybody know where they can find you and your movies and what you're doing.
Sure. My podcast is Movie. You can find us on all platforms. We watch terrible movies. I'm trying to think of the last movie we watched was
Prehysteria?
I don't even remember.
Was it Prehysteria?
Oh, Prehysteria! Exclamation. Yeah. Another Charles Band kids movie that tricked us. So we're doing that. At Weekly, we just started a Patreon. We just did a Jaws retrospective of the whole series in July. We're trying to figure out what to do for August. We are kicking around the idea of doing a Iron Sheik's greatest matches, apropos of nothing. But yeah, so that's patreon.com/TCTAMPod, TCTAMPod. And we are available on all, like I said, all podcast streaming apps. And they call this a movie.
Right on.
Yep. And if you are, especially if you are a Patreon subscriber of us, and you like the us talking about wacky garbage movies, you should definitely check out their podcast, because that's all they do is talk about. It's only $1. That's a damn deal. That's a damn deal.
I'd buy that for $1.
I buy that for $1. All right, go check them out. And Anthony, as always, thank you for joining us. It was a lot of fun. And I apologize for interrupting your summer slammage.
No, it's all good. All good. Who needs 2 nights?
Yeah, I mean, 2 nights. That's aggressive.
Too much.
Aggressive. All right, for the Halloween is Forever crew, I'm Brian.
And I'm Steve.
And I'm Anthony.
All right, we'll see you around.
Why?
You little hopping vampire cuties. Why?